Justin, welcome to my weird podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm
Yeah,
excited
man.
to be here.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Cool. We already started the podcast outside in the hall, as we do.
Yep.
But so I guess we'll just bring it right back into it. So there's so many different things we could talk about, but one that we should talk about, I think, is your time in music, because I also had time in music. And just kind of like, how did that start for you? Give me the quick rundown for those who don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the quick rundown of the professional career is a little bit later, but it started for me when I was 8. I asked for piano lessons. I found my dad's Billy Joel CDs, and I would listen to them on repeat while I fell asleep. Then I asked for piano lessons. Fast forward a few years, I played a talent show when I was 16 in my hometown, and that kind of blew me up, like small town celebrity vibes. And I started getting paid to play music at 16 years old. It was crazy. I was making really good money. I'm like staying out all night and having trouble in school because I'm like playing these gigs and getting paid. Went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. I got a degree in songwriting. And then I was part of some songwriting competitions in Berklee that went pretty well for me. And I ended up getting sent down to Nashville, Tennessee as like sort of a reward. They took me down there on spring break with a bunch of other songwriters. And I was in the studio with Vince Gill and Reba McEntire and all these people. It was crazy. So I learned a lot about that side of the industry and really songwriting. With my degree being in songwriting, Nashville's like the center of that because basically all of country music is written by songwriters and performed by artists. So then I became kind of obsessed with that. I moved down to Nashville and I started doing some music licensing. So I still have some music in like films and TV shows and things like that. And then I started trying to write songs for other artists, writing some country songs, writing some pop songs. But as a performer, I was always a pop artist. So I also had my own solo career on the side where I was playing gigs. And eventually that led to me getting a reality TV show on ABC. That was in 2012. It was called The Big Time. It's like a global talent search for musicians. So from there, you know, it was cool. I mean, before age 25, I was finding success in Nashville. But it really, to go back to the origin story, it probably started for me when I was 13. I started playing drums in a band. And then that first talent show I did on stage was age 16. And then I ended up going to Berklee was the only school I applied to. I'm like, if I don't get into Berklee, I'm not going to go to college. I'll go join the Marines or something. So it was really kind of like from age 8 on, I basically knew music was going to be the thing.
But you didn't know that you were going to do it even up at the point that you were going to apply at Berklee. Like,
Yeah. I think that was one of those. I was a problematic teenager. I had a 2.86 in high school, and I was doing all sorts of illegal activities and got myself in a lot of trouble. But I always had a ton of friends, and I was like very popular from the music thing. Like I really enjoyed my teenage years. It was a great time for me. Just was not very academic, right? So like all the extracurriculars were great, but I guess I didn't know. You know, I was playing in local bars. I was 16, 17, and I was making like $75 an hour. And then by the time I was 18, I was making like $250 an hour playing private parties for very wealthy people who would see me in a bar and then they'd hire me for these fancy parties at their house that were like catered and lifeguards and all this stuff. I got intro to this whole world of like wealth that I had never experienced, but I still had no clue. How is this going to be my living? Like, am I going to play at restaurants and play at people's houses and stuff? Which is why I think I'm very fortunate that I got into Berklee, because Berklee, you know, I studied music business and songwriting and voice and piano and all the different things. So I actually started to learn the ins and outs of the music industry, which gave me a huge advantage when I got to Nashville. Because the story when you get to Nashville is you're going to be playing for $40 a night plus tips in some bar, and you get a tip jar out. And I did that when I first got there. I went from making the money I was making, you know, big fish, small pond, to driving an hour away from Nashville to play 4-hour gigs and make $75. And I was like, this is crazy. But I had so much music business education that within 6 months of being in Nashville, I was then a dueling piano player at a bar called the Big Bang, right on Broadway, the main strip in Nashville. And I mean, I had a 6-figure salary. I had 401k, health benefits, the whole thing. And then I started a band called the Cougar Petting Zoo. So I had the Cougar Petting Zoo happening. I was playing dueling pianos. I was writing songs, doing my solo stuff, eventually the TV thing. So it was, I really just had a pretty good understanding of how to monetize it.
What was it like being in high school doing that and getting started? Because I had a similar experience. But I wonder what it was like for you, being in high school and like dealing with kind of adult situations outside of school and then going back and dealing with teenage stuff.
Yeah, it was super weird. I think I grew up very fast for home life reasons prior to that, you know, but it was very strange. I mean, I even at 16, 17, I was getting hired for like bachelorette parties for like much older women and stuff. So there was a lot of like adultification that was really inappropriate. Actually, when I look back on it, of like, teenage boys' dreams, but I'm like, that was not cool, you know? But it was that kind of thing where alcohol is everywhere. All those catered parties that I played and stuff, like they're hiring lifeguards for their pool because all of the adults are bombed and they don't want to pay attention to their kids, you know? So it was really strange. And I mean, alcohol, I've had a very love-hate, which turned into only a hate relationship with alcohol in my life. But yeah, I mean, I was drinking very young. I was getting home from gigs at like, 2:00 in the morning. And my dad made me make a deal with him. He's like, I'm going to let you play these gigs. You can make money at this. You can keep doing it. I know you're passionate about it, but you better not start missing school. If I find out you're not showing up for school, like you're not going to be able to do these gigs anymore. And I was under 18, so I had to listen to those rules. So it's like, yeah, I'd go to school and I'd just fall asleep. I'd just sleep and get in trouble for falling asleep, But it was very strange. It was adult life to teenage life. Looking back now, especially now as a dad, I was like, I grew up way too quick. A lot of that was not good for me, but it was intense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was an adult at like 14. I think that was my first gig was 14.
Yep.
And so I'm like downtown, just kind of walking around with like all these like dangerous situations.
Yeah.
And I think about the stuff that kids deal with nowadays, and it's just not like that. Yeah.
No.
As an adult, the perspective is so different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the gigs we were playing, when I was playing drums, it was in a pop punk band.
Oh, cool.
So we were playing with like some very kind of old school. It was always older guys, like at least in their early 20s, mid 20s. I call them old then, not now. For me, I'm 39 now. But we were taking our mom's minivan and or in a lot of cases, having our parents were dropping us off at the gig with our equipment, and then they would leave. And we're just at like a grungy nightclub in Providence, Rhode Island, with like a bunch of adults around, and I'm like playing drums in this pop punk band. It was very strange. It was like the adultification was fast.
Yeah. I think about the adults that I met back then, and now I see them from such a different perspective. Like the people that were like looking out for me, and then the people are like, oh man, like they're just in a spot, and like they're never gonna not be like that.
Right.
For better or worse. Some of those people, that's just like how they are. But yeah, I think it's interesting. And then like just I'm like, wow, you're hanging out with like 20-year-old kids. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like you're 50. Like
that's what I mean. There's a very real creepiness to it.
Oh yeah.
When I think about it now, where if my daughter is a newborn, but like if I found my 15-year-old daughter in a situation like that, I'd be real upset. And now then you start to remember like, oh man, some people's parents, they'd get in big trouble. Like they were so mad that their kid was at like a bar or something. I'm like, their parents are squares or whatever. And I'm like, they were doing a good job. Like you shouldn't be here. You're around 40 middle-aged alcoholics right now, and you're 15 years old, and they're like, yeah, your music is great. You want to hang out? I mean, it was twisted, man. Yeah, and that's what I mean. I mean, like behind the scenes of these affluent private parties and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I mean, at the time, you probably did as well, like I felt like a grown-up.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm a grown-up. I'm 16 years old. You can't tell me shit, right?
Yeah.
And then I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's 40-year-old wife was like hitting on me in the private room while I'm setting up my equipment. And I'm like, you're a pedophile. What is, At the time, I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm hot.
Right. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome, right? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, well, little did I know, I'm like, there's some trauma I'm going to have to unpack when I'm 30,
Yeah. I didn't think I was like stacking trauma at the time. I was just having a really good time, dude.
Totally. It was great. I'm living the dream. And what was weird, here's the craziest story. I'll just out this guy because I mean, whatever. I'll tell you his name. I don't care. But I've been talking to this guy since high school. But the principal of my school at the time, when I first played the first talent show I ever did, was in front of like 1,000 people in the main auditorium of this school. They put it on the news. I got a standing ovation. I played one song. I played Billy Joel, She's Got Away. And all the grown-ups lost their minds. It was on the news. That led to my first paid gigs, all this stuff. That was my junior year. By senior year, the principal of the school would make an announcement during homeroom that would call me to the office. So I'd go like Justin Nault to the principal. I'd go to the principal's office, and he'd just be talking to me like this. And I was like, what? I'm supposed to be in class. Like, what's going on here? And he's like, you want to go get lunch? And I was like, sure. And he would take me to Burger King. And we'd eat Burger King, and he'd hang out with me. So he would leave his job in the middle of the day and take me to Burger King, and we'd hang out. And then we'd get back from Burger King and he'd be like, you know what? The seniors have been pretty well behaved. You down to do like a little show? I'm like, ooh, now? Yeah. I'll make an announcement. Cool. He'd make an announcement on the intercom, bring all the seniors to the auditorium, and they'd wheel out an upright piano, and he'd be like, just play like 5 or 6 songs. And I would just play songs for my classmates. Like it was, I was like,
wow.
yeah, I look back now and I'm like, I don't know, maybe that guy was probably 35 or something like that. Like, I don't know how old he was, but he just like didn't care about his job and was like, this kid's cool. I'll hang out with this kid, you know? And I look back at it. I think it was my current fiance, Megan. Like, I told her that story and she's like, yeah, that guy was a creep. And I'm like, what do you mean? We were like buddies. And she's like, no, think about this.
Yeah.
And I had to stop and think. He was like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
But I didn't know at the time. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm the coolest person in town. Of course he wants to hang out with me. I'm a rock star.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the ego of youth. You just, and also the lack of perspective. Like, you just don't see it like that at all.
Yeah.
And now I think about myself, like at 35 years old, I would never like hang out with a kid.
No.
Like, just for them. Like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
Like, why would I do that?
Well, and also like,
And I'm not going to say that teachers shouldn't, like look out for their kids or whatever. But yeah, there's a line.
of course. Well, and that I don't know how I graduated. I know there was like a capstone project that I heard a lot about that I never did. And I never did like the 2 years of language that I had to do or like any of the things that you have to do to graduate. I just didn't do. And I graduated. So I don't know. So when you say that, it's like, yeah, I think it's great for teachers to look out for their students, but that's not what this guy was doing.
No.
This guy was playing favorites and having some weird kind of like, it's kind of like the Bruce Springsteen song Glory Days. Like he's like trying to relive glory days, like he's a cool kid in high school or something, you know? And I don't know how you feel about this now, but like if I look at a 21-year-old like at UT, like walking down the street on game day, I'm like, that's a child.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They look like babies.
Yes, dude. Yes.
A 16-year-old, they are no chance I'm spending any time with a 16-year-old under any circumstance unless they're my kid. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, for the same reason we talked about earlier, like all the things you experience, I think like when you grow up so fast, it's just be impossible to talk to somebody at that age.
Yeah.
It was like, just what are you going to talk about? How are you going to really relate? Like above just like guiding them or like maybe helping them. But if I was helping someone or when I'm trying to help someone, I never speak directly to them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like help them think for themselves because like I don't think I'm going to really help somebody by telling them a thing. I didn't listen then either. I'd do a little better if I'm like, okay, well, like let's look at it from your perspective, see how you feel about it, how you think about it, what are your thoughts,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. But like I just can't imagine that, and that happened all the time. The stuff I got away with because I could play guitar.
Yep.
I was joking with a friend about that the other day. What is it, dude? What is the deal with being able to play of all the instruments too? Like you play trumpet, no one cares. Like, but if you play guitar or bass, especially guitar or sing or drums, like one of those instruments, people think it's like this special. Is it the communication aspect of music, or it's like, oh, they talk without words, or like they share their emotions? I don't know. I've been like trying to deep dive it, but it's definitely a thing.
It is. I think it goes back to the idolization of human beings. Right, it's like rock star status has kind of always been a thing. I don't know how far back that goes. Who was like the first real rock star before TV and everything? Like
I mean, probably Elvis.
Yeah, right. Like Elvis was a huge one, and like clearly Elvis could do no wrong. There was I don't know who said this quote, but it was like, even actors want to be rock stars. I
heard that too.
There's something about that. Well, and now comedians do it, which is crazy. But there's something about like headlining a stadium where you can just control like 100,000 people, like the whole vibe, or like, I remember playing for 1,000 people once in Nashville and I put my arms out and was going like this and the whole crowd just started jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And it was this very surreal, like I'm like a puppet master type thing, it was really weird. And I think there's just some kind of, it's so powerful and it's so magnetic that if people can't do it, they just want to be around it. Like they want to be around someone who can do that. And there's some kind of subconscious dream of like, I want this gift that they have. But yeah, and I mean, as a result, I used to joke about this in the music industry too. It's like, we get paid to not grow up.
Yeah.
And that was where like I was 35 years old. And I think like the only thing that I ever wore was like a black t-shirt and Chuck Taylors. Like I didn't know anything about like fashion. I was still like drinking all the time or whatever. I mean, I was out of the music industry by then. So it's probably around 30 that I was still drinking all the time and everything. But it was part of why I got out of the music industry. Is in my late 20s, a friend of mine got a gig playing drums for a very popular band in the 90s called Tonic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's
can only see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huge, right? So like, and I don't like putting anybody on blast or whatever, but I got to hang out with a lot of 90s rock stars as a result of this, like in real life, like hang out.
Yeah,
you know?
I did too.
Yeah. And then I was like behind, backstage at some local festival they're playing or whatever. And I mean, these are guys that in 96 and 97, they had the biggest hit single in the world. They were invited to the White House twice, right?
Were
like
they really?
Yeah. They have the global #1 hit for 2 years running. Like, you don't get any bigger than that in the music industry. And now here we are 20 plus years later, and these guys are all in their 50s or whatever. And, I'll leave details out, but just looking at the lives of these guys, I was like, ooh, this is a crystal ball. And I get to think about what I want my future to look like and how I want things to go. And that was when I started toying with really podcasts and personal development, read the 4-Hour Work Week. I started learning about psychedelics, had my first psychedelic experience out in the jungle with ayahuasca. It was the first psychedelic I ever did, 27 years old.
So you didn't do any psychedelics while you were playing music?
Nope, just booze. I was smart enough to never try cocaine.
Oh, wow.
Because I saw a lot of insanity around that.
Yeah.
And it was always free, and I always said no. But like booze got me. I was, by the end of my music career, I was doing 250 to 300 shows a year for the last 10 years of my career. It's a 15-year career if I count going back to 17 years old. And I mean, I was drunk 6 nights a week for sure. And I mean, when I say drunk, right, it's like before I stepped on stage and played the first note, I'm 4 drinks deep. And by the end of the night, I'm 20 drinks deep, because they do 4-hour gigs. So it was a lot, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you get friendly with the bartenders, and like everybody knows you, and like, hey, let's have a shot. And then like, that just takes off.
Well, and I remember even like my uncles would come visit me. And it was one of those things where anyone who hasn't experienced that, and like Nashville, like I'm in Music City, man. Like at the time that I was playing that gig, Nashville was the #1 tourist destination for bachelorette parties. And the dueling piano bar I worked at was the #1 location in Nashville for bachelorette parties, right? Yeah. So there's women everywhere. And like my, middle-aged uncles would come visit me or whatever, and they see me on stage, and then I get off stage and people are taking pictures with me, and they're like, you are living the dream. That's the coolest thing ever, right? And then I'd step off stage and we'd go to some bar next door, and anyone who was with me would just walk through the door without getting carded. The door guy's like, oh, Justin, cool. This whole crew can get in. And then I would walk in, and through the crowd, I would like do this. Let's say I did this with my uncle with me. And it's like, we get to the bar and there's 2 shots of tequila waiting for us because I know these bartenders so well, and they know me, and I'm not paying for shit. No. Right. And it's like the impact that has on someone who's never experienced that, you become like a god in their mind. Yeah. From something that small. You're like, dude, this is like a dive bar in Nashville, and I know this person. Cool.
Right.
It's
the
weird.
Mystique just gets knocked right off of it. But it's true, dude. They see it. They're like, oh, I've always wanted to do that and experience. And it is cool, like the first time.
Yes. Yeah.
But then when you put it in context, it's like, it's just another thing. Everybody's at work.
Yeah.
And like, man, I think that one of the biggest things that people don't realize is the loneliness of being in music at that level. So you go and like, so there was, I was with a band that's like fairly popular recently, and recently-ish. I don't want to I'm not trying to out anybody.
Yeah, sure.
But these are super cool people, great band. But we go backstage, and it's just like the people in the band, and then like 3 people that tour with them. And they're like stretching and chilling and just like eating normal food, drinking a little bit. Like it's just a very reserved thing, but there's no one there.
Yeah.
Then they go play the show. There's like a few thousand people at this gig. The gig is killer. Go backstage, and it's just them. One dude retires immediately. He's just like, time to get on the bus. And like, there's no one there. It's super quiet. The venue empties out. And you do that every night for months if you're on tour. And that's like the reality of living like that. And I think people only look at you got free drinks, you got this, you got that. Well, the drinking gets like exhausting, especially if you're traveling. Like I got done with the drinking pretty quick. And I had the job of having to drink with one of the guys I was in a band with once, because no one else drank either. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'll have a couple beers with them. I was like, alcohol never got me. Yeah. I don't know how I skipped that one. All the other drugs had their way with me. One way or another, pretty much. But alcohol was it was always there. Yeah. But it's so hard to avoid too, because everybody drinks and everybody offers you free drinks. And that's like a lot of times part of the payment. Yeah. Like, well, you got free drinks, dude. And so we're like, well, I got to take my payment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you're obligated to drink this because it was free.
Right.
Very strange.
Yeah. Why would I get rid of part of the deal? You
Yeah.
know, like they just threw it in because.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the last tour we did, my rider was like fresh fruit and Red Bull.
Yeah, totally. That's so funny. I played a gig in Des Moines, Iowa, a college gig. They brought me in, and that was basically my rider. It was like a fruit platter and Red Bull.
Yeah, dude.
And then we had the Black Label 5-hour energies.
Oh,
like,
hey, that's
throw in a
smart.
couple of those. Give me some B12. You know?
Right.
Like, but yeah, and then I walk in and like the green room is like a conference room, and like computer chairs, and there's just like a case of Red Bull and some fruit, and I'm like, I'm basically Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. Like, minus the cocaine and Jack Daniels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I remember when I was on the TV show, so this is Global Talent Search, and I ended up coming in second place, spoiler alert. And so they send me home, and I'm on the plane ride home, and you're not supposed to tell anyone. There's like an NDA and all these stuff. You can't tell everyone what happened because the show airs months later. And I remember being on the flight home, and I'm obviously like very depressed this happened. So I immediately just get very drunk on Jack Daniels and just start talking to passengers about what happened. I just came from I had the flight attendants. They're like, wait, what? You just did a show? Yeah, I did a show. Just like a couple months, you'll see me. And I'm just spilling my guts. And I have a photo that I took of the table on the plane flying home. And it's these little Jack Daniels airplane bottles and the autobiography of Keith Richards that I was reading at the time. And I remember in my head being like, I need to be more of a rock star. Like this guy fired a gun in a hotel room. That's cool. I've never done that. Yeah. What can I do? I was like trying to wear the costume of a rock star, and it was killing me. It was not good.
Yeah, it's impossible to keep that up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you were saying, I think a lot of people think that musicians get to see the world. And I am friends with a guy who was Taylor Swift's guitar player for her first 3 albums. He was very tight with her dad, and that's how he got the gig when she first came up or whatever. And he, had a pretty heavy drinking problem and had been all around the world with Taylor Swift and stuff. And he was like, a bar stool in Germany is exactly the same as a bar stool in Nashville. Mm-hmm. It's just a bar stool.
Yep.
And you realize you're in these cities 2 days max. 2 days in one city would be a lot. You got to get to the next place. You don't see anything. You see a stage. You see a bus or a van. You see a hotel room. Like you're technically in different locations around the world, but you are not traveling. No. You're just working a job, It's a 9-to-5 job that starts at 8:00 at night.
Yeah. You never get to spend any time in the city. There's some meme of like we toured the Midwest and all it is all the pilots and like all the truck stops and stuff.
Yeah. How many places did you buy jerky at? That was your tour.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. There was a RV tour that we did. And so, you're playing all these like nice places, but you're staying at truck stops.
Yeah.
And so we just roll into the parking lot and then like go take the $12 shower and you're thrilled to get. Like, yes, the $12 shower.
Yeah.
And this was like a fairly popular band. We were headlining all the shows.
Whoa.
And we were still like doing it at that level.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like there's so many different ways that the music business kind of works itself out. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier. I want to kind of segue into it. So I feel like the new being in a band is either having a podcast or being a comedian. Do you see the parallels?
100%.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
What do you see?
Well, and this is, I've had a bunch of content go viral recently because I was talking about the concept of influencers being traumatized.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, right. So I had that line that was like, the more famous your favorite influencer is, the more traumatized they probably are. And I think the only reason why I see this as clearly as I do is because I did the music industry thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's the same thing, right? So you have like a rock star, like a Alex Hormozy, right? Mm. And everyone is like, oh my God, this guy's making hundreds of millions of dollars. And then he's telling you how he did it, which is like years and years and years of 16-hour days and skip weekends and work as much as you can and don't go to weddings and don't have many friends. He famously has a tweet that said, it took him till whatever age to realize most places are not worth seeing and most people are not worth meeting. And like, this is the worst outlook on life I've been to 20 countries and everybody was dope. Right. What are you talking about? Like what? Like what is the darkness that lives in you, bro? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's this thing where in the music industry too, when I was in Nashville, people say, oh, how did you make a living in Nashville? Because it's the most competitive music city in the world. And I'm like, well, not really, because it's competitive for the top 1%. Like if you're really good, if you're just exceptional, then there's no competition for you. Which is basically what Hormozy is doing, what Gary Vee is doing, what all Dan Martell is doing, right? These guys are so good that they sell it to you. Like, all you have to do is do what I did. right? But like I was born with a voice that was better than a lot of people's voices. And when I was 8, I became obsessed with playing the piano. Do you know how hard it was for me to get good at piano? Not hard, just wasn't. People around me at Berkeley were practicing in rooms for 8 hours a day. Yeah. I would watch people practice for 8 hours a day. I had a 3.86 in Berkeley. I maybe practiced a couple hours a couple times a week. I was just like, I did whatever I was born with. I don't know, genetics, I don't know, right? But it's this thing where I had another video where I was like, for every Gary Vee, there's 100,000 people who burnt out trying.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but it does mean that we're selling this tiny sliver of reality that is a very outlier reality, and it's not aligned with most people. Like if I lived like Alex Hormozi, I would be very depressed. I'm not wired for that. I have guys right now that are homies of mine that I played with in Nashville that are still out doing stadium tours. And they're 39 like me. They're doing stadium tours. It's very hard to have romantic relationships. They're gone all the time. Their health is falling apart because they're eating at truck stops. They seem very happy in that thing. It's not for me, man. I had to leave, right? So this is what ends up happening, the same way that the principal wanted to hang out with me because he thought it was cool, right? It's like everybody wants the bright, shiny thing that's presented to you as the thing, but that's the tip of the iceberg of the thing. Like what we see of Alex's life is the tip of the iceberg. The rest is the 16-hour work days for however many years he's done this thing and coming up, sleeping on gym floors and everything. The story is very romanticized, but people get confused because they see money and fame and they assume that that person is happy. Yeah. That's the problem that I think is happening. And in the music industry, we have Amy Winehouse and Elvis Presley and Kurt Cobain and Michael Jackson and Justin Bieber and these horrible stories of what turns into these people's lives. Like Taylor Swift is never going to be able to go anywhere without security for the rest of her life, you know? So we're seeing such a tiny sliver that is presented to us in this big, bright, shiny way. And that's all that's happening now, is now there are multiple different genres of rock stars and everybody wants to be a rock star. Theo Von and Joe Rogan are rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like Dave Chappelle is a rock star. Also, Alex Hormozi is a rock star. Russell Brunson is a rock star. And it's crazy. So you have like news media people that are now rock stars. Candace Owen is a rock star, you know? Yeah. It's crazy. Once the influencer craze took off and you could get famous doing so many things that are now fame at the level of what would have been a rock star. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but it changed the music industry completely.
Yeah.
So Lizzo pretty famously did this video on Instagram. And she was like, the music industry is changed forever. And any up-and-coming independent artist has a bigger advantage than they've ever had in the history of the music industry. And she went through, this was last summer, she was like, everyone online is talking about how there's no summer hit. There's no big summer jam that's like the song of the summer. And she was like, I put out an album this year. Drake put out an album this year. And she started naming all these megastars that had put out albums to crickets. Nobody cared. And she was like, so now they're doing community models where like Lizzo now has a paid community model where the most diehard Lizzo fans are in this community, and she's like talking to them like she's a person. The same way that like Joe Rogan shares his thoughts and Theo Von shares his thoughts. She's now getting on Zoom or whatever and talking to her fans and sharing music with them. It's changed the model completely. So it's a really weird situation that we live in.
I don't think that's good for music personally. I personally prefer for music the mystique of it.
Yeah.
And like painting, like a painter. I don't want to know like what a painter's deep thoughts are.
Yeah, right.
I just feel like it takes some of the magic out of what they do, which is just so unexplainable.
Yeah.
Whereas like other things, like it completely lends itself to that, like Hormozi, talking about like how do you work all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of people also like being buddies, like in that way, the parasocial relationship with the musicians. And it's the TikTokification of music, where everything is like a 15-second sample instead of a song.
Yeah.
Like it started with the album being broken down. I remember people freaking out about that. And then the album got broken down to singles, and people freaked out about that. Now singles have been broken down to snippets.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting just how little that has gotten down to, how it's been reduced to this little itty-bitty thing.
Yeah, I don't think there will be masterpieces anymore.
Yeah,
you know,
because people have the attention span for it.
Yeah, and what a lot of people are doing for marketing the music industry right now is trying to get their song to become an audio trend on TikTok or Instagram. So it's like you'll see these trends where there's millions of posts that all use the same 10-second clip of some song for a B-roll video or whatever, And then that song goes on and gets, you'll see these artists that are nobody artists. They're not touring, they're not anything. And they have one song that has like 300 million downloads. And it's because they were a trending sound on a short form social media platform. It's very strange. So I was talking about this with my fiance the other day. I was like, we're not going to see another Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Like a fucking epic, like change your life rock opera is not going to happen. I don't see it happening.
No, it's the amount of concentration and effort required to do something like that.
Yeah.
And even thinking to think it up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm going to do, how long is Bohemian? It's like 8 or 12 minutes. I forget how long that song is.
Yeah. I think it's like 6.5, something like that. It's long. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was too long for radio then. They're
Yeah.
like, no, you can't do this.
For sure.
Yeah. But,
and the Bohemian Rhapsody movie talks about that. The label didn't want to release it and they had to like fight for it and all this stuff. But when you also think, when you watch those movies or you hear stories or like Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, right? Like how they came out with some of those sounds. Like, dude literally filled his house with sand because he was like, I want to feel like I'm at the beach, Yeah. And it was this whole situation where you have guys that would take, I'm not joking, like would take 3 weeks of 8 hours a day in the studio to get the sound of the snare drum right for one track. Yep. And it's like, oh, if we take this aluminum can and put it on the snare drum, whack, how's that sound? No, not the aluminum can. What if we duct tape the aluminum can? Whack. Okay, well, what if when I hit the snare drum, we have a steel bucket, and that steel bucket's over here, and the microphone is in the steel bucket, and we whack, how's that sound, right? That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And the reason it doesn't happen is because you might get an hour of focused attention like this in the studio, and then what are all the musicians doing? They're checking their fucking Instagram. That's what's, nobody is bored anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a lot of us were musicians. I played in my teenage years, I played 8 hours a day in my basement. I remember I recorded my first EP on GarageBand. I played all the instruments. Like I was down in my basement doing that by myself. Nobody had to tell me to do it, but I didn't have any social media to check.
Right.
And even now when I share clips of my, like if someone goes to YouTube and searches Justin Nault, they'll find my music videos and stuff. But there's a surprising lack of content given that I played 250 to 300 shows a year for 10 years straight. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, when I started playing music, we had flip phones. Right. And Instagram didn't come out until I was over 10 years into my career. And when Instagram came out, you could just post a single picture. There was no Instagram reel that was 90 seconds for me to play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember I started making YouTube content in 2012, and YouTube was 2 years old. So it really breaks your brain when you look back over the last 10 years. Really, social media is a part of everyday life for about 10 years. And it changed the entire world. And it's changed every industry, every niche, everything. The way we look at fame, the way we look at community, the trolling and hate versus positive, politics. I mean, it changed the entire world.
Yeah, it really did. Also, with the music industry, the consolidation of certain roles changed the way that things and the expectations the artist had. So, like, you don't have an engineer anymore. Like, back in the day, you would have an engineer, and then you'd have a lead engineer. And so you'd have them talking to each other, like getting the mics right and all that kind of, like, as processes you were just talking about. Yeah. Well, now you are the engineer.
Yeah.
You're at home and with your computer.
Yeah.
And yeah, like all those roles, and because the specificity of these things is gone away, I think it's unfortunate because so has the skill set.
Yeah.
And the records sounded incredible back in the day because they would spend all this extra time doing it, even with inferior equipment.
Yeah.
They would still get a superior result.
Yeah.
And nowadays, like, and it's cool, like these technology breeds different kinds of innovation. So it's not fair to discount anything that's come around now. But the mystique of the past has been earned in many ways. Yeah. Especially the recording process. Yeah. Which has just kind of been taken out of it's just like, how much money do you have and is it better than your phone?
100%. Yeah. And it's trippy too, because a lot of these guys that I know that are still in the industry will play these big festivals or like Austin City Limits or something like that, right? And they're like, yeah, man, we opened for some TikTok guy, who like had a trending sound or he blew up, has 1 million followers on TikTok. And the next thing you know, like this kid went from like playing in his living room to being on stage in front of 10,000 people or whatever at ACL. And I'm sure people know this to some degree, but I mean, there are full-blown racks, what we call racks in the music industry. You know this obviously, but for listeners, like a rack is just like a bunch of different equipment that's literally screwed into a rack. It might be, amplifiers, reverb devices, whatever it is. And there are like multi-rack auto tuners that tune someone's voice in real time. And there's been a lot of kind of scandal around this because people have cell phone videos. There was some artist, I don't remember the artist's name, but he was talking into the microphone in between songs and they didn't turn the auto tuner off. So he's speaking and it's like, and they're like, what is wrong? Oh, that's not really his voice.
Yeah.
His voice is being tuned by the millisecond to come out of the speakers perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you imagine, like, go listen to Joe Cocker sing With a Little Help from My Friends at Woodstock.
Right.
And talk to me about autotune. Like, that's like, I have goosebumps talking about it because I've watched that video so many times to be like, this guy is channeling spirits. Like, how? And the way he's moving his body and he's just screaming. And like, sure, according to autotune specifics, I'm sure he was out of tune all over the place. But the soul of that performance is life-changing when you listen to it.
Janet Jackson, the people that wrote a lot of her songs, it goes to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, they, instead of sequencing things, would play them live they would play the loops into the computer, into the sampler.
Yeah.
And so it was always live. Jay Dilla did the same thing. He would like play the beat. They never programmed the beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you take that element out of it and everything becomes like pre-programmed and kind of templatized, you just get this sameness.
Yeah.
And then another thing the internet changed, which I think is really interesting, is it used to be the sameness of influence. So back in the day, we had to chase down the most esoteric weirdo person at the record store and get their opinion. It was like, that dude knows the cool band. And so you go ask the clerk and he's like, yeah, dude, check out this thing, you know, or like, or they'd be super excited. You get super excited. Record store guy, oh yeah, dude, have you ever heard of this? And so then I'm listening to the weirdest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But that was how you found things. And so nowadays, like, they find all the cool bands immediately. Just go to Reddit, find a thread. Oh, I'm supposed to listen to these bands. But then they only listen to those bands. And then their band sounds like an amalgamation of the 5 best bands.
Yeah.
And so you have this limited influence pool. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought whenever the internet started, like, oh man, you can hear anything. So people will check out anything. That is not what happened. Instead, it became kind of like even more cliquish in that way, as far as like what they listen to. It became limited in a way that has made the influences kind of just more homogenized.
Yeah. Well, and think about the question you asked about comedians and podcasters, right? What do we do with all of our opinions right now? We put ourselves in an echo chamber, right? It's like, oh, I listen to these 5 bands and that's it. And it's like, oh, well, if you're into Joe Rogan comedy, then you're like Austin comedy, and New York comedy is different because they're mad because you made a anti-woke joke, you know, or like politics. Everyone is so siloed in their own little algorithm and their own echo chamber. It's the same exact thing you're talking about. It's happening across industries.
Oh yeah, that's true. On the other side of it, there's also certain randomness I never could have predicted. I never would have predicted that a bunch of jock dudes would be into Walking on a Dream. Do you know that song?
No.
It's a TikTok song that Empire of the Sun did. It's like this super kind of ding, 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 like super poppy and light and la, la, la. And all the time, workout bros posting stuff with it.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
I got to look it up now.
Yeah.
Walking on a Dream.
As soon as you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I know that's Walking on a Dream.
All right.
How can I explain? Empire of the Sun are like dorky costume kids.
Wow.
Like they're all dressed up and like it's very like kind of art pop. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
But like that's just not, that band would not have made it with the bro crowd.
Yeah.
And now it's like a mainstay because it's on so many TikTok videos.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, what you're saying, the opportunity to have a tremendous amount of range in the things that you like is greater than ever. We really do have access to so much stuff. You know, that's why I love reading. You have so much access to different viewpoints and information and everything. So I think there's always going to be some percentage of people that are still doing what you did in the record store. You know, they're going to go try to find some cool person who's curated just this vibes and like, or that's where you get the influencer thing. Like, oh, that one influencer, he seems to know a lot of really cool underground bands. So I watch his stuff. You know, there's a lot of us that are going to have a wider array of interests. And then there are others that are like, there are those of us that I like to put myself in this category of like, try to not be stuck in an echo chamber. Try to hear different things, you know? And I think some people will do that and some people won't. You know?
I don't think people are aware that they're in the echo chamber.
For sure, yeah. I think that's the thing, right? Like you're in the podcast world, I'm in the podcast world, and we're creators, right? I think the more you're a content creator, the more aware you are of how easily you can get caught in an echo chamber. Where I think I made this decision early on with social media, and this actually came from Russell Brunson, like old school marketing stuff from Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. He was like, you just have to make a decision. Social media is here to stay. Do you want to be a consumer or do you want to be a creator? Because if you're a creator, like I spend far less time on social media than almost anybody that I know who's not a creator, you know? So it's like I'm kind of like getting in and getting out of the social media thing. And I think those of us that have learned marketing or have had to learn marketing, I'm a business owner, I've had multiple, you know, physical products brands and everything. I had to learn marketing. I think we're just more aware of it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, whose funnel am I in right now?
Exactly. That's it. Whose funnel am I in?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, literally, if I'm at a store shopping for a shirt, I'm like, I'm in someone's funnel. I ended up in this particular store for some reason. I was manipulated in some way, and I don't even know all this stuff. I was driving in my car, saw a billboard I never noticed. Then I was on Facebook and got served something. And it's like subconsciously, there's some store name, and like, oh, I need a shirt. I'm going to go to this store. Why did I choose this store? Like, we're being manipulated all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. And we are entering the era of the micro-influencer.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. Because we've gotten to the point to where people don't believe the first level, high-level influencers.
Yeah.
And so they need it to basically be their friends.
Yep.
And it's just like another level to the marketing game.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering when people are going to get tired of being marketed to all the time. Because it's got to be a combination of that, like dead internet theory, all the AI and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, that can be part of it. But I think the other part of it is that the interactions are all going to be suspicious and inauthentic, whether it's AI or whether it's your friend got a cool product deal. And even when you're like supportive and even when you like the product, at some point, are you going to become like kind of aware of that and then hesitant towards that, like in a larger level? When are people going to be like, I don't know. All I did was just see like 10 ads.
Yeah.
I just want to look at pictures of my cousin's kids or something like.
Yeah. That guy Chase Hughes talks about this. He was like a CIA operative, and now he's an influencer. There's this clip of him where his son was on social media. And he's like, "Oh, I think I want to buy this product or whatever." And his dad, without looking at the phone, he's like, "Scroll up." He's like, "Was the post just before that ad? Did it make you mad?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's like this like political thing." He's like, "Scroll up one more. Is the post before that? Is it like an animal? Is it like a puppy or a cat?" And the kid is like, "How are you looking at my phone?" Like yeah, there's like a cute puppy. And then a political ad, and like I'm kind of angry, and then I got served this ad. He's like, yeah, they're activating you emotionally. Like they're literally playing on your emotions in a way with what you're being fed in the algorithm to make sure that you are in a primed nervous system state to make an impulse buy. So you're trying to relieve some kind of emotional tension by getting the dopamine hit of like buying something new. So they know to the level of like, we're going to serve them these 2 posts to get this particular emotional engagement from them and nervous system response. And then the exact thing, because we have all the data on this person, their income level and everything, we're going to serve them something that we know they want at the exact price point that's just low enough for them to make an impulse buy and be like, $30, I can afford $30. Like, yeah, dunk. That's how controlled it is.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
Yeah. I worry about variable pricing like that, especially like the very oppressive aspects of that.
Yeah.
Like making it to where, how much can this person afford? And just that's just so wrong. I think fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
But it's inevitability of having this much data.
Yeah.
And this much data dumped into one place.
Yeah. The TikTokification of this is really interesting because, you know, again, being in marketing for as long as I have been now, like TikTok Shop does this very well. It's like it's its own, I mean, TikTok Shop is like its own economy at this point. And they will spin up accounts that will just post kind of like nonsense, whatever, like literally cats, puppies, whatever. And then there'll be a TikTok shop linked to it. And they'll click on the link and it'll be like, here's a case of, you know, whatever drink. Normally $89.99. Today, $20.99. And you're like, I'm saving $60. Boom. You know, and it's like the whole thing. It's just a scam. The whole thing is just like careful manipulation.
Yeah. Do you think that it's possible to be a high performer and not be somewhat insane?
I
ask a lot of people this question.
Yeah.
And I know that you've kind of talked about it in your comment or in your content.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible. I think you have to be at least a touch nuts to be a high performer. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think you have to be at least a touch nuts. Yeah. And I talk about it where I'll say like ambition-based, trauma-based ambition. Trauma-based ambition is the most powerful ambition, where you are literally operating from a place of not having had your emotional needs met as a baby.
Yep.
And you don't know what's happening. So like this desire for external validation like feels like life or death. You will do anything to get it, and you don't know that's why. So the reason I pause with the question is because I don't know that you can get there inherently without being a tad bit nuts. But I do think you can have a sort of this would be such a cliche term for this, but like you can have an awakening. Like at some point, I recognize, and I will say this, and I don't think it's right for everybody, but I would have never gotten to this place without psychedelics. Psychedelics made me realize that I did not love myself even a little bit. And my entire identity was built on external validation. The way that I phrase it is I had no self-esteem and a lot of other esteem. My entire identity was other esteem. How can I have enough people tell me that I'm awesome so that I feel good about myself? And then I get home from a gig and I'm in, I owned a couple of houses in my mid-20s and thought that was so cool. I'm doing so well, right? And then I'm just like in a house by myself. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm like in my underwear. I'm a little drunk and I'm like, I guess I'll make some eggs, kind of hungry, and go to bed by myself. You know what I mean? It was really weird. I didn't understand that everything I was doing was out of a desire for more love. All of my romantic relationships were toxic. I was dating nothing but groupies. Like, it was terrible. I didn't know how to connect. I didn't know how to do intimacy. Definitely didn't know how to be vulnerable. Like, for sure. I'm bright and shiny all the time. Nobody gets to see behind the curtain.
Right.
So I was never vulnerable. And the reason why I say this is because once I went on like a journey of self-love, like learning how to love myself, I think it's possible now for me to maintain a level of high achievement that I'm very comfortable with, but I can do it from a place of loving myself. And if I have a failure in business or I have something that doesn't go the way that I want it, I'm not going to spiral into a depression. I just go to my fiance and be like, I'm feeling insecure and sad. Can you please make me feel better about myself? And she's like, yeah, I love you. You're perfect. I don't care. Like, all the businesses could fail. My partner says to me all the time, she's like, I'll live with you in a box. I don't care. Doesn't matter. We can lose all the money. We can lose all the businesses. Like, I got you. And I'm like, whoa. And there's a freedom that comes with that. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, everything I did, I would literally get teary-eyed thinking about it, because like I could play a 4-hour gig and crush the gig and be absolutely perfect the whole time and have one song that didn't go quite right. I'll think about that song for 3 fucking days, man.
Yep.
And I will whip myself. Yeah. How did you let that happen? How did you let your voice squeak at the top of this epic song you were singing, I
call that Axl Rose disease.
Oh.
Because Slash, and he's having his biography about Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
He'd say that Axl, there'd be a crowd of cheering people, and Axl would find the one guy who was angry and then focus on him. It's that particular habit of just like focusing on one bad thing instead of the countless good things.
Yeah. And what's crazy though is like in today's self-help world or whatever, of like these big influencers that are like hustle, I call them hustle culture bros.
Yeah,
right? Like, the hustle culture bros will tell you that's a good thing.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, so what? Stop being a bitch about it. Like, you're supposed to focus on what you do wrong so that you never lose again. Never lose. And you're like, oh my God, this is horrible, man. Like, I don't want to live that way. I don't want to have that experience where it's just constantly beat myself up. If I'm not 100% perfect all the time, I'm literally a piece of shit. And I lived that for a long time. So I think there is a way to operate from trauma-based ambition, get to a place where you are a high performer, and then reassess and be like, okay, what aspects of this are improving my quality of life and making my experience here on earth as a human better? And what aspect of my high performer-ness is actually taking away from my quality of life and disrupting my connection with other human beings, which is the point of this whole thing.
Right. So you think it's a combination of self-awareness and self-love is the way out for the high performers? I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're always so hard on themselves too, for the same reason that you just mentioned. The like, if I'm not improving off praise, I'm only going to improve off negative feedback.
Yeah.
Then they just focus on the negative feedback.
Yeah.
I make a point of doing that for the people that I work for that are like CEOs or like high performers or like the real elite ones, especially if they're improving on something and I can tell that they've been working really hard on it. I'll make sure to compliment them on that, because I know they're not doing it for themselves. And so like, it's funny how impactful that can be.
Of course.
Because they're only thinking about, well, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the way to grow all the time.
No. And what a lot of people don't have, especially in the realm of podcasting, is I will portray a certain version of myself to the public because I want the social cookies, the external validation. I want to look smart, intelligent, whatever. The same way when I was on stage, I wasn't posting me practicing or messing up. It's like, you are going to see me at my best and only my best, and that's it.
Yeah.
So then what happens is when I go out into the world and I'm not on stage, like I found myself needing to show up as Justin the rock star. I call it all caps Justin. Like, I had to be all caps Justin all the time. If I'm at a party, I am like I have the persona. Like, yeah, oh, that dude at the party, he's the musician. You already know this guy. He's the musician.
Are you a D'Angelo fan?
I remember D'Angelo, but I wasn't a huge fan of his. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, D'Angelo, so I think best R&B artist of our time.
He's
maybe.
incredible.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Also, all of his tracks, killer musicians on all of his stuff.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. I could go on and on about Voodoo, the way they recorded that record.
Yeah.
It was really cool. But the point I was going to make was D'Angelo. So he did the How Does It Feel video where he's got his shirt off and super popular. Women come to the shows screaming for him. He would freak out about his body not being right. And so he wouldn't come out on stage. And Questlove was like walking backstage to find D'Angelo, who's in the back sitting, doing sit-ups and doing push-ups. And he's like, I don't look like the video, man. He's like, dude, it's been 20 minutes. We got to start. He's like, I don't look like the video.
Yeah.
That pressure. Yeah. That like insistence on creating the perfect image all the time.
Yep.
And that's such a tough thing to get. Like, we're talking water weight and like incredible physical condition. Those just drinking more water will make the abs disappear.
Totally.
You can still be sub 10% body fat.
Yep.
These expectations that we have that other people put on us, but then even worse, the ones we have for ourselves that are so entirely unrealistic. Can be so damaging.
Yeah. Well, and imagine that, right? When you think about the physical body, I always say this with like bodybuilders and stuff, it's like you are actually building, I call it the Iron Man suit. Like my charisma, the way that I look, the way that I sing, the way that I act, my whole vibe, the way that I carry myself was an Iron Man suit. And it's the Iron Man suit because in the middle of that thing is an ooey gooey heart that is very soft and very vulnerable. And if somebody can get to it, I'm dead, Yeah. And that's D'Angelo. He's literally like building a costume to wear of like, can you please look at this thing and tell me that it's great? And it happens with podcasters as well. It's like if you are an intellectual podcaster, if you're a Sam Harris or something, right, where it's like your entire identity is built on your intellect, try going to a bar and having a beer. And when somebody comes and wants to talk to you, what do you think they're going to ask you about? They're going to ask you about radical Islam and Christianity and meditation and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you better be on, because if I start asking Sam Harris questions and he's on 3 hours of sleep and he just had a flight canceled and he had a layover and now he's at some hotel bar and he's got a couple whiskeys in him and he slurs his words or is like an idiot, I'm going to try to film him. Say, look how dumb Sam Harris is. He's a fucking idiot.
It's a fake.
Yeah. I ran into this guy at a bar and he couldn't put two sentences together. What a fucking idiot. And that's so people wear the Iron Man suit all the time. Yeah. And and then what ends up happening is you are getting a ton of external validation. You're getting love, right? So I get off stage, people want to take my picture, they want to give me hugs and blah, 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 the thing. But they're giving love to the Iron Man suit. They're giving love. You. Yes, they're giving love to a caricature that I created. So then I go home, again, I'm sitting in my underwear by myself at home. Well, my Iron Man suit's off. And the ooey gooey Justin inside that suit has received no love for years. Every single night he's getting love, he's getting external validation. But for years his experience is actually more lonely, more disconnected, and less love than if I were just a fucking normal person. And this is, high achievers do not want to admit this. Normal people who would be called mediocre by Hormozy standards or Wes Watson standards or whatever, like people that would be called mediocre with like a normal life, like normal people with families, with a job, friends, going to happy hour on the weekends, whatever. Normal people are way better at a lot of things than high achievers are good at. There are so many high achievers that are like literally incapable of basic human intimacy and vulnerability because they got a fucking Iron Man suit on all the time. But they will convince themselves that they are elite and everybody else is mediocre. And this term mediocre, when I started making these influencer videos, the term mediocre makes me angry because I'm like, okay, well, I can play the piano. If I go out into the world as an influencer and I decide my game is piano playing, the measure of a man is based on how good he is at the piano, right? I can call anybody who doesn't play piano mediocre.
Yep.
I can just get on the internet and scream about how mediocre everyone is because they can't play piano. Or like, I'm a dad. I'm a good dad. Well, if you're not a dad, you're mediocre. I can sing. If you can't sing, you're mediocre. I train jujitsu. If you don't train jujitsu, you're mediocre. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's garbage. So we have this whole world where it's like, if you're rich and you have biceps, you are allowed to call everyone else mediocre when like the basic aspects of human life, love, connection, intimacy, you suck at those, bro. Yeah. You're really bad at them. Like your entire life is built on making content for strangers And you're like, somehow you are the elite of the elite, and everyone who doesn't have what you have is mediocre.
Yeah. It's like they missed Michael Jordan crying through the entire Last Dance.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, dude, what an eye-opening documentary, man. Oh my God. It's
yeah,
crazy.
for the stuff you talk about. I mean, that's like basically just playing it all out for you to see in slow motion. This is what happens because Michael Jordan is the Michael Jordan of. He's like the Coca-Cola of high achievement.
Yeah.
And he spent half the interview crying about the ways he treated people.
Totally.
And things he regretted in his life. Like all to just be the person that achieved the goals he wanted.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. Yeah, that was so eye-opening.
A huge cost to it, right? You're right, though. So, yeah, like Hormozy is the Michael Jordan of marketing. They just use that term. Or Rogan's the Michael Jordan of podcasting. It's like crazy. Yeah.
One of the bands I was in is a band called Conflict, and the singer of the band, they started in like 82 or something like that. So they were one of the very first punk bands. And the singer Colin, so he was just revered by the fans for like his political beliefs.
Okay.
Like what kind of the point you were making earlier about like when you approach these people in public. And I could tell that the weight of that, because he just wanted to be, just normal dude.
Yeah.
He liked watching cartoons and making jokes and not being serious.
Yeah.
But people would come up to him and they'd want to be super serious. And it was exhausting. I mean, he would hide because he just couldn't escape the people. And it was just too much for him to carry. I remember one time he was hiding in the van. I was going in the van to find something. And he's like, I can't be bothered. Yeah. And like he was just cooked. That was just too much for him. I was like, oh no, you're good, man. I'm not, So I go back out and then people are like asking me, where's Colin? I'm like, oh, he's over there on the other side of the venue.
Yeah.
Just like
he's on an airplane.
Yeah. He's anywhere else.
Yeah.
Just trying to buy him time.
Totally.
Like, these people, I think we have unrealistic expectations of people. I think that ends up feeding it on the other side.
Yeah.
They have unrealistic expectations of themselves. And then that creates this little like whirlwind of unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
So they always have to be performing.
Yeah.
And especially like shy people. A lot of musicians are shy, they're sensitive, they're not really good. And I had to learn how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so that performative aspect of it, like you get into a mode and then you get rewarded for that mode.
Yeah.
And people like that mode. And you think that the armor and you is the same.
Exactly.
But it's not the same. Then you take it off, you're like, well, don't I feel good?
Yep.
Everybody told me how cool I was. They didn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Like you haven't really, like the concept of being seen. Like you have not been seen. You're being seen by thousands of people, but you're not being seen as a person at all.
Yeah.
And trying to have a relationship when you're on the road all the time, or when you're trying to achieve all the time. Like I'm just going to grind and hustle and monk mode it out. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And if you're not having somebody or something filling your energy back up, you're just going to be depleted and have nothing.
Yeah.
And then, the alcohol, the drugs, like.
That's the thing, man. Look at the substance abuse in musicians. Like this has been known forever. From the history of the world, like all musicians have some kind of substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
From Frank Sinatra to Michael Jackson and everybody in between, whether it's opioids or booze or whatever,
Right.
And that's actually true. Again, don't blow people up, but like at high levels of entrepreneurship, it's very much the same.
Yeah, and if we had Adderall in there, like Adderall abuse.
Totally.
Yeah, or really a lot of scripts. Like
or we talked about this, your fitness journey, right?
Oh, yeah.
What if we throw peptides, TRT, and steroids into there?
Yeah.
Now how many people are relying on substances?
Oh, man.
All of them.
Oh, yeah, everybody.
Yeah. It's really crazy. It's like you can't keep this up. It will fry your nervous system and you will end up with a fucking disease. Straight up. Like if you can't learn to take that Iron Man suit off and learn to love yourself and learn to connect with people, and you think you have to show up as this version of you all the time in order to be worth anything, you're going to have to start relying on, I know one very successful bodybuilder physique guy, 8,000 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Oh, that's even worse than me. That's wild.
How are you functioning? And he's tried to get off of it a bunch of times and has publicly written articles about it. Like I tried to get off and I lasted 4 days and I wanted to kill myself. So
the headache had to have been intense, man.
Yeah. So I'm back to this many energy drinks per day or whatever. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I quit Adderall and I cut down on the caffeine at one point, but I had to very, very much. Well, first of all, there was a cost to it and it was in COVID. I didn't have to be stuck at the chair. So when I wasn't stuck at the chair, all of a sudden I didn't need the thing that helped me be stuck at the chair. But it was still like a recalibrating and it had to do with sleep. And once I got the sleep right, then I was like, oh, okay, I'm just rested. That was actually what I needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially with amphetamines and stuff like that, caffeine, any kind of stimulant, What you need is the sleep.
Yep.
But you're in a situation where you can't get the sleep. So you try to do something to replace the sleep. Sleep is not replaceable.
Yeah.
With the GLP-1s, like I took a GLP-1 to lose the weight originally and was very cautious about that process because I've seen it done poorly so many times.
Yeah.
And I also did not want to be on GLP-1s.
Sure.
And a lot of people take GLP-1s and maintain their diet, just a lower amount. And then the muscle goes away and they just become fat. They're skinny fat.
Totally.
I think that's going to be, I don't know, man. I feel like you have an opinion on this as well. What do you think is going to be the Ozempic rebound? Like, how are they going to pay for it? I think the skinny fat is like going to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
Heart attacks, other kind of stuff that just when the body is just so out of whack. Same way with steroids in the 80s, where you have all this muscle, but your heart cannot pump enough blood to carry this muscle that is unnatural to your body frame.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm wondering, like, what are your thoughts on the long-term potential effects of the GLP-1 craze?
Yeah. I mean, one, you are in an interesting situation where you've got to see a ton of my content from here in the studio, right? So you know everything is energy, right? I am like the more energy guy. I want to fix your metabolism so you can create as much energy as humanly possible from the foods that you eat. More energy is better. More calories are better. More food, real food, not toxic bullshit. More food is better, right? GLP-1s are caloric restriction in an injection. So it's like we're going to slow gastric emptying, which is a huge problem. We're going to slow gastric emptying. We're going to take away your appetite. It's literally decreasing the amount of energy being produced in the body. So what you're talking about is already happening. There are class action lawsuits that are going to be, staggering. Like there will be, mark my words, there will be billions of dollars of damages paid out to people who had significant harm from GLP-1s. It's already in place. There are class action lawsuits being filed right now, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse, just like the opioid epidemic, or it's happening with SSRIs, or even like a drug back in the day like thalidomide that caused, birth defects in babies or whatever. This is the playbook of Big Pharma. Like, how do you guys not see this? How did you not see this coming from a mile away? They've been working on GLP-1s for 20 years. Yep. Do you know why they didn't release them? Because a large enough percentage of the population wasn't obese yet.
Right.
So they waited until 75% of the population was overweight or obese and said, here's this magic pill. And you have actors and actresses that just all of a sudden get super small, like Amy Schumer famously, like got super small and then deleted all the pictures of her on social media of her fat off her Instagram. So there's only pictures of her skinny now. One of the number one things that people are not realizing, because the caloric restriction is a big deal, your energy, the way that your energy is structured, the more energy that's being created, the healthier your tissues are. So Ozempic face, like Google Ozempic face, and you will see these women look like the Crypt Keeper. Like their cheeks are sunken in. This is rapid aging in an injection. Very rapid aging. And they had this thing where there'll be these fitness influencers that are like, look at me, I did retatrutide or whatever that one's called. Retatrutide, the GLP-3, right? So retatrutide, they take retatrutide and they show their before and afters. And I always joke about, I call it penis skin abs. Like the skin on the abs is so ridiculously tight. And when you see people that are physique competitors or bodybuilders, they age way faster than the rest of the population, especially if they do something like tren. So there are women that were doing, bikini competitions at 25 years old, taking tren and everything. You meet them when they're 29 and you're like, are you 55? And they tell you they're 29. And you're like, no. You're a 55-year-old woman. Like your hair is thin and stringy and like it looks like you've been smoking cigarettes for 40 years. You got like wrinkled leather skin. That I think is going to be a huge thing because this is a very vanity-based thing. It's like, I just want to be smaller in the world. So you end up skinny fat, low energy production. Now your tissue's unhealthy. And you have all yes, there are bladder issues like potential bladder cancer. There's bladder paralysis, all these very real things that are happening. But I think the amount that it's going to age people so rapidly is going to be shocking to people. Like if you're on a GLP-1 now and you're on one 5 years from now, look at before and after pictures of yourself. And you're going to look like you aged 15 years.
Yeah. I as I look at the way these things played out and I think about the way that I did it, like I just was so meticulously and health-based.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the only reason why like things worked for me.
Totally.
And also because I took the lowest dose possible for the shortest amount of time possible, just to recalibrate my leptin and ghrelin hunger cues. And it worked. And I haven't been on them. I've maintained the weight and have not been on them for months now. It's been a long time.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was such a short window. That is the exception to the rule.
Yes.
I also worked out like crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared of muscle loss. So I worked out constantly. I changed my diet like very, very specifically, and then worked out intensely constantly, and just kept upping the level. Because as I lost the fat, I was able to do more.
Yeah.
This is not what people do.
Right.
They just like, oh, I'll eat less Domino's.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, you know, like Dave Asprey, for example, like famous biohacker Dave. Dave's a good buddy of mine, and I was talking to him about it, and he's been making a lot of content about it. I take a very similar approach to him in this, where like the same thing if I'm working with a male client, I do a lot of work with like very high performance men, entrepreneurs and stuff, but a lot of these guys are in their 50s, and they've focused on hustle culture and let their health fall by the wayside. So now I got to help them get healthy. I am a huge fan of using like bioidentical TRT, right? So we're going to give you testosterone, and we're going to pull your natural level of testosterone, not natural, we're going to pull your internal level of testosterone up to a healthy place. Let's say 800, right? You had 200 testosterone, we bring you to 800. You are going to feel like a new human. You're going to be like, oh my God, I can go to the gym, I have energy, I sleep well, I'm attracted to my wife again, this is incredible. That's great. But you'll hear things like, when you take TRT, you have to be on it for life. That is not true. The same is true with these GLP-1s. If you take them, you have to be on them for life. No. The only reason that happens is if you don't do what you did and make the lifestyle changes that make you a man who makes high testosterone naturally. So if I take someone that's like, you know, visually, if they're on like 0 on a graph, and then over time we're tracking their testosterone, we can give them TRT and spike them up to, let's say, 800 where they used to be at 200. And then 6 months later, we're making all of the appropriate lifestyle choices as well. Yep. They're seeing the sun come up. They're watching the sunset. Like, they're getting sun in their skin. They're sleeping well. They're going, even if it's just 2 times a week, they're in the gym doing resistance training. We're getting all the junk out of the diet, all the toxic deodorant, shampoo, polyester underwear. We're getting rid of all that stuff, feeding them plenty of calories to support their muscle growth, the protein synthesis that it takes to not lose muscle when you're on a GLP-1, let's say. But in the case of testosterone, I'm doing everything that a man would do if they wanted to naturally raise their testosterone. So then when we do decide we're going to start tapering you off the exogenous testosterone, your body is already primed in a state where it can make its own natural testosterone anyway. And then wouldn't you know it, you can slowly taper them off TRT, they get off the TRT, and they're maintaining 800 level testosterone. But in the conventional medical model, they give you the magic pill with none of the lifestyle changes.
Right.
So if you're smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, and eating fast food 4 times a week, and we give you TRT, and then 6 months later, you make no changes, and we pull you off the TRT, wouldn't you know it, your testosterone goes back down to 200. Because the environment of the biological organism has not changed. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. You got to change the baseline health.
Yeah. And Dave talks about this with GLP-1s. He's like, listen, if you want to take a GLP-1 because you're obese, I get it. Like, he was obese for a long time, and like, you want a magic pill. Some people have been struggling with obesity for 40 years, man. I do not blame them for taking a GLP-1. But the way he describes it, and the same thing I'd say to people, is you need a really good collagen protein powder, and you need a really good whey protein powder. Get 2 of those great things, and I don't care what you got to do, you're going to get 200 grams of protein a day, and you're going to drink it. If you can't eat a chicken breast because you have no appetite, and I don't care if you don't feel like it, you are going to chug protein powders, and you're going to lift weights.
Yeah, I so specifically tracked my macros.
Yeah,
like to an obsessive degree. But on the body image stuff that you talked about earlier, now I'm trying to get rid of the tracking.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to weigh my food. Like, I know how much. Or it's really funny, like, because it just get obsessed with like keeping the number on the scale, and just, even though I like get worried about, did I eat too many bananas?
Yeah.
What a stupid thing to think about.
Right.
Like, who cares, dude? Is that really a problem? It's not.
No.
Like, did I go to McDonald's? No, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that at all.
Nope.
Yeah. It's about changing the habits. And like, a lot of people want their bad habits, and they want the lifestyle benefits of having good habits. So you can't do that.
Yeah.
You either just have good habits or you have bad habits.
Exactly.
And, the drugs will not take you there.
No, and that's the issue with the way that we look at food. It's like, we look at food as calories instead of information.
Or fuel.
Yeah, or fuel, right? So the way the body creates fuel is based on the information it's receiving. So like, the things contained within a food, the macronutrients, the micronutrients, and by the way, countless compounds that we have never identified and we don't know what's going on, right? That's the reason, like if you take, let's say, I can't remember what it is. It's like 25 grams of an apple or something like that, which should have like, I don't know, 15 milligrams of vitamin C or something like that. And you eat that, it has the equivalent in the body, the antioxidant capacity of like 1,200 milligrams of synthetic vitamin C. It doesn't make sense. Like, mathematically, you're like, no, these vitamin C capsules, like ascorbic acid, have way more vitamin C. Why is this a little bit of apple that should really only contain a tiny, like a 1/100th of the amount that you would get in this synthetic version? Why does it have the same antioxidant capacity as a higher dose of vitamin C? The answer to that question is we have no idea. We don't know.
Right.
So it's so silly, the reductionist science around food. It's like, I've said this time and time again on every podcast you've ever heard me on. I'm like, DM me, Justin Nault Official. I will send you a foods list. It has over 110 foods to choose from. You don't have to sign up to coach with me. You don't need to have custom macros. You don't need a fitness plan, nothing. If all you did was make that your grocery list, and you can eat as much of any food you want on that list, but you do not eat anything that appears off of that list, I promise you in 90 days, your health will be better, your entire life will change. And you don't have to count a single calorie.
What's the most common problem that you encounter with your clients in that regard?
It's hard to narrow down to one, because usually if somebody has ultra processed foods in their diet, they're getting pesticides, they're getting dyes, they're getting gluten, they're getting seed oils, like all of the above, right? So it really is easier to go with a list of like, this is what I can eat, rather than me creating a list. Like I've never created a list of like, don't eat this. Yeah. You know, it's like, you can eat this, and here's this list of 110 foods. And by the way, I'm going to teach you that if you're at a store and you pick up, you know, a chocolate chip RX bar, you can look at the ingredients and you're like, oh, egg whites. Yeah, that's on the list. Dates, that's on the list. Like cocoa. Oh, chocolate's on the list. Okay, cool. Salt, that's on the list. You now have like a packaged food that's like a convenience food that you can eat, but it has all food in it. And there are a lot of brands right now that are doing a really good job of that. You know, but if people have a diet of heavily ultra processed foods, they're getting all the worst offenders. You know, so it's much easier to say, here's a list of what you can eat. Same thing when people talk about seed oils. Well, what are the seed oils? What do I have to look out for? I'm like, look, just butter, olive oil, coconut oil. Limit it to those three. Don't eat any oil that's not. It's so much easier and so much mental bandwidth to just be like, I eat these foods. And that's why I made the list of 110 foods. I'm like, listen, you have 110 foods to choose from. Like if you combine those foods in all the different ways, it would be like billions of foods that you could potentially eat. Like you don't need more variety in that. It's just everybody wants, you know, they want their pizza and they want their pasta and they yada, yada, yada. It's like, do this for 90 days, see how you feel. And if you want to go back to your old way of eating, be my guest.
Right. Yeah. For the 100 foods that you have, 110, the multiples of foods that are bad for you outnumber that by an incredible amount.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always tell people this because I don't think people realize it, but there's like this term generally regarded as safe, according to like the FDA in the US. So there are over 15,000 chemical compounds that are allowed in our food. Over 1,500 of those are known carcinogens or metabolic toxins. So cancer-causing agents and known metabolic toxins, as shown in scientific studies, over 10% of that list. And then you have the grocery stores today, over 73% of grocery stores are ultra-processed foods. So most people, I mean, for probably 60 plus years, nearly 50% of the American diet has been calories from ultra-processed foods, which is sure to include some number of those 1,500 metabolic toxic compounds. It's really crazy. And that's where we get into the science. They look, show me the studies. I'm like, that's cool. If you want to wait for studies to tell you that like steak and fruit is better for you than Twinkies and Doritos, you can sit around until somebody funds that study.
Right.
I'm not waiting. I'm gonna make this decision right now because I want to be healthy now, not 30 years from now when some authority god on high in a white lab coat told me like, we did the studies. Turns out Doritos aren't great. I don't need somebody else to tell me that. I'm going to act right now. You know, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I think just the FDA in general, like all these government agencies basically act like the opposite of the thing they're supposed to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just weird how they've become intertwined with one another.
Yeah.
To the degree that you can't even really separate them.
No, not at all.
Especially with the pharmacy and the food, because food is medicine. We don't need medicine if we eat the right food.
Yeah.
But somehow we've conflated these terms and turned it into this weird, like you've got to take a pill.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that are on cholesterol medicine, that's one of my favorite examples of this, because it's obviously a diet thing. Like some people it's genetic, most people it's diet. And that is a pretty standard medication for people starting in their 30s, often in their 40s and 50s. I see a lot of people, I'm 46, I see a lot of people like my age just kind of falling apart and have been for a while. And it's almost directly tied to diet. Yeah. And just poor health choices in that regard.
100%. I was prescribed a statin at 30 years old. and I was diagnosed genetically. We call it FH because it's hard to say, but it's familial hypercholesterolemia. So basically, according to your genetics, you're going to be high cholesterol no matter what you do. And I was prescribed a statin. My dad was prescribed a statin. My dad had uncles that had heart attacks like in their mid 30s. It's like my whole family, it's like genetically, like I should be having heart attacks for sure. And I'm 39 years old. And I took that statin for like a month, and I didn't even have negative side effects or anything. I was like, this cannot be right. This doesn't make any sense to me. This is crazy. I was like eating paleo at the time, whatever. And so I was pretty healthy at the time. I think I was probably 9% body fat when I got put on that statin. And when you know it, this is part of what led me to my aha moments where I started preaching energy more than food. Because I realized that like these LDL particles and all these things are like carriers of energy around your body. And cholesterol does a bunch of things. Like you can't make testosterone without cholesterol.
Right.
So all your sex steroid hormones, all these things are like precursors to that are cholesterol. It's a very important thing in the body. Your body doesn't make anything that's going to kill you. Like it makes things because they all serve an important job, an important purpose. So if you have high cholesterol, it's an adaptation to metabolic dysfunction. So if you solve the root cause of the metabolic dysfunction, then your body will use cholesterol properly. Instead of storing a whole bunch of cholesterol because you're not generating enough energy, you can use that cholesterol. And the way that I did this experiment on myself was I started researching just the thyroid. Like the thyroid is the master metabolic switch of like your entire metabolism. It's driving everything. So I was like, I had this kind of idea where I'm like, I think this is an energy problem. And if I can ramp up the amount of energy that my body's creating, I can test this very quickly. So I got prescription T3. I had a functional medicine doctor and I worked with him and I said, listen, just give me T3 as a prescription. And I took a bunch of T3, like pretty high dose T3. 2 weeks later, my cholesterol level was normal. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like super, I had done the paleo thing and I learned about the keto diet when my niece was born terminally disabled and I experimented with that. So I'd done like keto, low carb, carnivore, all these things. And I was like, oh, I'm not eating enough. Like I was constantly in the mind. I was doing a lot of intermittent fasting, extended. I've done 7-day dry fast, no food, no water. I was doing a lot of fasting, all these biohacking experiments. And I was like, man, everyone is still really under the like confused idea that more food is bad for you. I was like, I think the only reason we think food is bad for us is because most of our food is toxic junk.
Right.
And that was when I discovered the 1939 Yearbook of Agriculture. And that at the time in New York City, the average caloric intake was 3,200 across men and women. They're eating like red meat, potatoes, milk, bread with 3 ingredients and no preservatives.
Yep.
And the average 155-pound man was eating about 4,000 calories a day. And I was like, bingo. And that was the real light bulb moment for me. And I just started like, I try to never eat less than 2,800 calories a day right now.
Yeah, that's about what I eat too.
Yeah.
And with the physical activity, like it's easy to, but I don't even think about it that way anymore, really. Yeah. I passed the dieting phase. I stopped thinking about calories at all.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about macros. Like with the GLP-1, I had to make sure that I was getting enough calories. I was really, really concerned with that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be deficient because I knew how hard I was going to work out.
Sure.
But once I was able to get through that particular part of it, at first I was like, oh no, if I eat too many, over 2,000 calories, all these like traditional rules.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then just like, natural food.
Yeah.
Like shopping on the outside of the grocery store.
Totally.
Yeah. If you think about like just on the periphery, everything on the inside is generally not good.
It's not real. It's not real food.
Right.
All the food exists out here on the perimeter. That's it. It's that simple.
And the preservatives we use, that like what you spoke of with bread, a lot of the preservatives in bread are very bad.
Yeah.
And they talk about the yoga foam mat one. I forget which one that is.
Oh, yeah. That was in Subway sandwiches.
Yeah.
The Subway bread.
That's in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
That's in if you eat bread at any place, it's going to have that in there.
Sure.
Among other things. But the things that keep it from molding, which is pretty common in all industrial commercial bread.
Yeah.
And among other things, anything that needs to be shipped nationwide. And then as these companies consolidate and you have less small businesses, because the infrastructure cost is so high, you just have more people that need more preservatives because the shipping time is longer.
Yeah.
So the problem just exacerbates itself. It gets worse and worse and worse. Yeah, it's so interesting. Interesting is one way to put it. Sad's another.
Yeah.
But it's good seeing people reclaim their health.
Yeah.
I feel like that was one great thing about COVID. Is that people really started, like at minimum, they started working out.
Yeah.
And exercise being a focus was really nice.
Yeah.
What about sleep for you? Because in the music biz, I try to tell people this, but like you're out of the gig at 2, you get home or you get paid at like 2:30, 3.
Yeah.
You get home at 4,
Yeah.
then you wake up the next day at like 10, 11, something like that. Have you recalibrated to like the natural circadian rhythm with sleep? Or
Yeah, it was one of the hardest things I did because, so one, I was playing in Nashville. So last call in Nashville is 3 a.m.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I was literally like, the last note I'm playing is at 3 a.m. Like, all right, guys, get your last drink, get out of here, time to go. You know, so it's like we do last call at 2:30, and then I get off stage at 3. And so I mean, I was going to bed at, you know, plus, you know, I was drinking and all that. And then you hang out, we're counting tips and we're talking to everybody, maybe have a couple drinks, whatever. So I would go to bed at like 7 o'clock in the morning, you know. And then when I started Clovis, my first e-commerce company, I very quickly realized that I was having trouble getting anything done because I'm getting up at 11 o'clock in the morning and half of everyone's workday has gone by. Yep. So I'm like trying to run a company and like a normal work hours. And then I had the podcast and all these things. So I ended up taking prescription modafinil, which is modafinil is like I guess you'd call it like a healthier version of Adderall. It's like works in a different way. But anyway, so I'm on modafinil. I got a prescription for that for what's called shift work sleep disorder. This is the diagnosis that they give it to you for. It's actually a performance enhancing drug, like Olympic sprinters and stuff use it. Fighter pilots use it. It's actually what the movie Limitless was based on.
Oh.
It's based on the drug modafinil. So I took modafinil for probably the first, I don't know, maybe year of running Clovis because I was doing gigs at night and then getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Like it was insane. Like when I used to go to bed, I'm now getting up at that time. It was nuts. It was really, really bad for me. And then over time, I started dropping off. I went from playing 6 nights a week to 4 nights a week and then 3 nights a week. And then eventually, towards the end of the music career, I was doing 2 nights a week in bars and probably 4 gigs a month that were like private parties, corporate events or whatever that were more high paying. So I was able to manage it in that way. But I mean, it took me years to correct it. And I tell people this, shout it from the rooftops all the time. The ultimate magic pill for your health is the sun. If you have energy issues, if you have insomnia, if you have depression, anxiety, whatever, if you can force yourself somehow to see the sunrise with your naked eye outside every day for the next 14 days and see the sunset with your naked eyes outside every day for the next 14 days, it will change you as a human. You'll be like, this is crazy. I've never slept so deeply. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. wired, wondering what's going on. Depression, anxiety, these kind of mood things sort of lift. Like we're really designed to be in the sun. And Dr. Jack Kruse has talked a lot about this. There's a whole new field called quantum biology that is all about how like the circadian rhythm basically runs everything. Light and dark cycles. Like when the eclipse happened here in Austin, we were laughing about it. We're in my buddy's backyard and the eclipse happens and all of a sudden there are bats flying around and there's crickets chirping and there's birds flying. Like the birds aren't flying anymore. Like the birds go silent and you hear the crickets chirping. And now there's bats flying around. You're like, it's noon. But every other animal is so sensitive to light dark cycles. And then the eclipse ends and the sun's back out and the birds are chirping and the crickets are gone and the bats are away. And I was like, this is wild, right? We're supposed to operate in that same way. And Jack Kruse actually, I think he has a couple articles about this, but I know he's talked about it on podcasts where he thinks that's part of the reason for Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, Kurt Cobain, all the musicians that have either committed suicide or killed themselves with substances, they never see the sun. I used to joke about that in the music career, and I'd be like, the only time I see sunrise is when I stay up until it, or I'm outside when it happened. You know what I mean? It's like I just never. And even on my off nights, if I'm not playing a gig, I can't fall asleep before 1 in the morning. I'm usually going to bed at 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be. You know, so that circadian rhythm drives everything. And a great example of this is blue light on our devices mimics certain wavelengths of the sun, and it changes your blood glucose. So blue light in your eyeballs will increase your blood glucose if you have no food in your system. It's really crazy. So if I am, let's say we're here today, we have like, you know, these artificial lights, or we have a computer screen or something, and we both like eat a banana and we test our blood glucose. And then tomorrow, same time of day, we eat that same banana, but we're both outside in the sun with our shirt off and our bare feet in the grass. We will have completely different blood glucose responses from the same food based on the light environment that we're in. So yes, the long answer, the short answer to this, I guess I should say, is yes, I was able to reset my circadian clock, but it took a long time and a lot of doing.
Yeah, I was shocked at, because I've been doing it recently, really within the past 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. And waking up early, going to bed much earlier, going to bed around like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I realized I got a message yesterday at 9:30 and I didn't answer it.
Yeah.
I was already asleep.
Yeah.
That's such a foreign thought from the music days.
Totally.
But it is, man, the high achiever people, they're like, I get up first thing in the morning. I used to make fun of that all the time.
Yeah.
They were right. Like I can wake up early and get so much done.
Oh, yeah.
And then like my first meetings kick up around like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
When everybody else is waking up.
Yeah.
It's incredible what the huge productivity hack
Totally.
of everything just being so quiet and just being focused like first thing in the morning and just going outside, even though the sun's not up yet, you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
And if I don't wake up, I usually wake up naturally, but if I don't, my cats wake me up for the same reason that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because it's hunting time.
They know what's up.
Yeah, dude. Like the sun's coming up, dude. Wake up.
Totally.
How are we going to eat if you don't get outside and hunt?
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is too, like cloud cover, like I have a baby now and I take the baby out every single day. Like first thing in the morning, we wake up, I take her outside. And like you said, I'm in a position in Austin where I can't see the sun actually coming up. It takes until about like 8:30 in the morning where the sun clears the trees and everything where I'm at and we get direct sunlight on us. I take her out first thing anyway. And the sky is kind of like purpley pink. It's like just starting to change. The sun somewhere is like cracking over the horizon. I just can't see it yet. And Chris Masterjohn talked about this recently on Joe Rogan, where he was like, yeah, people say, well, I live in Seattle. Can I still go get sunrise? It's always cloudy all the time or whatever. He's like, literally any time of day where the sun is up, whether it's overcast or anything, if you take like a lux meter and you go from inside your house to outside, it's like 1,000 times brighter.
Yep.
Like you are getting sun, even if the sun's not beating down on you. It's the same way like if you go outside on a really snowy, bright, sunny day and there's snow on the ground, you almost need sunglasses because you're like, oh, it's so bright because the sun's reflecting off everything.
Yep.
It's reflecting off the snow, whatever. So yeah, just get outside and like let natural sunlight get into your eyeballs.
Yeah, one of the roughest sunburns I ever got was on a cloudy day. I went outside without sunscreen. I was like, I'm fine. I just got burned up. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
I could have learned it easier. How long have you lived in Austin?
I think 4 full years now.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I think 4.5, something like that.
Yeah. What do you think about the city? How has it changed since you've been here?
I don't know. I have like no city experience.
That's kind of cool.
It was so crazy, man. I came out here. The move that we made here, we made the decision to move here specifically to build community.
Okay.
Like we have, my fiance and I are both e-commerce entrepreneurs. We met on a private island in Croatia. She was a speaker at an event of e-commerce entrepreneurs. So
that is such an e-commerce entrepreneur romantic story.
Totally, right? She was a keynote speaker. And I
in Croatia.
In Croatia, I showed up there. She's on stage and she's giving a talk of how to scale to 25 million or whatever. She's an insane entrepreneur. And she was in like cut off Daisy Dukes. She has all these dope tribal tattoos. She had like Doc Martin, like combat boots on, and like a bikini top, and her hair was like tangerine. And she just got this microphone, like just schooling everyone in business. And I was like, who is that? Wait a second, But yeah, that's how we met. So we had this really cool, we have a very, like, I think a very special, it means a lot to me, our global network of like entrepreneur friends and everything that we all met in that same location on that same trip. But they all live around the world. So we don't see each other all that much. We keep up WhatsApp, Zoom, whatever. But like all the dopest people we knew in the US lived in Austin. And we're like, we got to go to Austin. So we moved to Austin, moved here for the community. And as a result of that, like, dude, I've never gone downtown and experienced like nightlife. I've just been to like, Concourse Project or like friends' houses for parties or like whatever. I really haven't explored much of downtown. Like I wouldn't be the guy to tell you how it's changed,
Yeah. Well, the city is at large.
Yeah.
And really, I guess you've only been here so long, but I mean, it's kind of what you're talking about. Like it's community is a big deal here, but I think people move here and then they wonder where the community is. You really have to be active and find people.
You got to create it.
Yeah. You got to create it, or you've got to like find one that is already really going and just like, oh, these are my people. I'll go hang out with them. Totally. And there's a lot of different communities too. Mm-hmm. But the city itself as a whole, I find it really interesting the way it's become an epicenter and just like a mecca of just all kinds of things. Like there's comedy now. It was music first, and then it was tech. Yep. And people forget about the tech thing. That was the first thing about Austin that they used to complain about. It's like, oh man, the tech guys ruined it. It's all Dell and like all these like Yahoo people or whatever.
Keep Austin weird.
Yeah. Keep it a college town.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that is the heart. That's still kind of the heart and soul of the city, but it's changed so much. Mm-hmm. And now we have all this like corporate infrastructure here, and we have the comedy thing, and then a lot of the like thought leaders start coming here. But I find it so interesting, just how big the city has gotten, and just your comments kind of reflect that. Like you haven't even gone downtown.
Yeah.
And yet you still like you've got your community. You can hit up Concourse is dope.
Yep.
Like that's such an awesome venue.
Yeah, it's good.
So I've been thinking about this too. The difference between the world that we came up in music and stuff now, like the Concourse Project.
Yeah.
I get why electronic music is having such a moment.
Yeah.
Because that show experience, it's really hard to compare the show experience of that to like watching a band in a club,
Totally.
which is another, like, there's a certain authenticity to that, though, that you don't really have watching people like twiddle knobs on stage.
Oh, for sure.
But the
Totally different.
dopamine hit, like, boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's incredible. Dude, the lights over top.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was life changers for me. My fiance introduced me to EDM. I knew nothing about EDM.
Oh, cool.
We started.
When was this?
This was about 5.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were together for about a year before we moved here. And I'd never experienced EDM. I knew nothing about it. I think she showed me like the floozies. And then I got into Grizz and I was like, this Grizz guy is amazing. Like Grizz is so dope. Now I love EDM now. And I remember there was a moment, and anyone who hasn't explored psychedelics, you know, there's MDA is a very powerful thing. MDMA is a very powerful, MDA is too, but MDMA is a very powerful thing. And I remember being at Red Rocks, and I was at this like kind of festival type show. I think it may have been the Floozies actually, but there was a whole bunch of amazing DJs. I was there with Megan and we're dancing, and like I had this whole like visceral experience. And Megan used to laugh because she's like, who's your favorite live act? Who's your favorite band? Whatever. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I've been on stage almost every night since I was 17. I don't go to shows. I don't know. What are you talking about? I work every holiday. I work every weekend. Anytime there's a show, I'm also on stage. Like Bridgestone Arena is having John Mayer is playing Bridgestone Arena, and then everyone leaves the John Mayer concert and they come to my bar and they request John Mayer and I play John Mayer for them. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm on stage when the people are on stage. When there's a big concert, that's a good money night for me. So I was just always playing when I just didn't see shows or anything. And I had this very tear-filled moment of just dancing with this woman I love and just having all the flood of chemicals in my body. And we were walking out of the show and I looked at her and I was like, holy shit. She goes, what? I was like, I've been on the wrong side of the stage my whole life.
I know. Yeah.
I've been on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was more profound than anything I'd ever experienced. Like I called it going to church at that point. Like Red Rocks was like going to church. We're like, we're going to church, which is like, I'm just going to feel a tremendous amount of love and gratitude for my life. And I'm going to dance. I couldn't dance. When I met Megan, I couldn't dance. And she's like, what do you mean you can? She's like, you're a professional musician. Of course you can dance. And I was like, no. I come from a very tough guy, violent background. You don't dance where I grew. No, right. Like you get called names if you dance, right?
Yeah.
And I just was so locked up, and I hadn't done any like somatic processing work or anything like that. And I really had to like, it sounds cliche here, and I had to like find my internal feminine that like allowed me to freely move my body. And that just like dancing at Red Rocks to an amazing EDM show with my partner who I love and friends that we brought with us or whatever. And I was like, I never, ever, ever want to be on the other side.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do that show and watch thousands of people out there having a great time and then go back to my fucking green room alone and then get in a car and go to some hotel and then move to the next thing, and just the isolation and the loneliness. I was like, I am flying so high right now. And I have flown very high in front of crowds as well. I've had that experience, you know what I'm saying? But it made me understand kind of what you're talking about, like the I want to be a rock star thing. It made me understand that I think the people in the crowd are having a better time, and they're assuming that the person up there must be having an even better time. Like this feels so good to me. Like we were in Singapore and we saw Taylor Swift. So I see Taylor Swift in Singapore. I'm like 30 feet away from Taylor Swift, and I'm looking around me, and nearly everyone around me is crying. They're crying their eyes out because they're like seeing their idol or whatever. And I wanted to just grab people and be like, yo, you're having a way better time than her right now. Like, listen. Like, it's just,
right.
And oh my God, it was so freeing. And now, you know, I've done festivals all around the world and Burning Man and all the things. And it's like, I love it. Like festivals are like one of my favorite things to do, to just have like an almost religious experience from music in that way. And I'd never experienced that before.
Yeah, it's so sad to realize that you have lost the ability to enjoy music because it's become a job.
Yep.
And it happens so slowly and subtly, you don't notice it happening.
Yeah.
And everything becomes like an educational exercise or a thought exercise. They're like, I've got to, what did they do? How did they record that? Like you just don't enjoy it.
Yep.
There's one of my favorite records still is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. So good. And I know, isn't it amazing? It's untouchable, the whole thing. Yeah. And I refuse to learn it. I just don't want to know. And then like one time I saw a tab and I was like, no, like look away. Like
Yeah,
I don't want to know that that's E minor.
Right. Right.
Like it's this mystical thing. And I
Yeah.
think about that and I think about music and like I think about when musicians miss the point. The point of music is to be part of the audience. Like to
Yeah.
have the experience that they're having. You're connecting with them emotionally.
Yep.
And I think that musicians like they're thinking of all these other things like well technical this and like Aeolian, Dorian, whatever.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
but really
Yeah.
you know they're not it's like why is my music not good or whatever? Well, because you're not speaking to anyone.
Right,
Like in
right.
any language.
Yeah.
Your lyrics don't mean anything, your music doesn't mean anything. Like
Yep.
what are you doing? You
Yeah.
know, like yeah, I think it's you get so far into that. And I wonder about like comedians too. Like I feel like they'll have the same moment. Maybe podcasters too, but like I don't know. I'll find out.
Yeah.
This is I'm very new on this journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels kind of different than music does.
Yeah.
Music feels very much its own thing. But also music has changed so much from when I started to how it is now. Like it's just a very different thing in general.
Yeah.
But I wonder about comedians that like maybe it even feeds the comedy. I don't think it feeds the music. I don't think that enjoying music less makes you a better musician.
Yeah.
But I think maybe some of the bitterness of like some comedians who are just over it
Yeah.
kind of fuels their comedic work, like a Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
Like he was just over comedy. But maybe that's the point to where they just start kind of talking to the audience. I feel like Dave Chappelle's at that point.
Yep.
Where he's just like, all right, this is what I think. I'm tired of
Sure.
even dressing it up in jokes anymore, guys.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like, here's what I think. And then, they all want to be George Carlin, who was like the first one to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're going to break the third wall and just like talk about life right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's done it better than him.
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, even that though, right? Is if you think about when you hear somebody like Joe Rogan talk about the process of creating a special, it's like, oh yeah, you go to smaller clubs and you test stuff out and you record yourself and you listen back to it and you're like, oh, that kind of landed. Like maybe I can use that tomorrow night, and you iterate, blah, 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 blah. And then they say like, oh, I have a solid hour. So I have like a special. And it's this solid hour that is like carefully rehearsed to the beat. I pause here for laugh, blah, 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 right? The people in the crowd are experiencing a moment of magic and they're like, this is so magical. Oh my God, like Joe Rogan just had me busting a gut, like in tears laughing. And you're like, yeah, and on this tour, he's done that 200 times, the exact same fucking way. And has delivered it the same way and has acted like, made this face that he made in the mirror to himself 10,000 times to do the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you're like, I remember recently I saw Dashboard Confessional, right? And I don't know a lot of his music, but my best friend like loves him. And we went with him. We're like, yeah, let's go do this. And I think he's in his 50s now. And he was just telling the story of like, thank you guys for still coming out after all these years. My first album came out 25 years ago, blah, 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 blah. It's been such a trip. And like, he's still on the road playing a much smaller venue to a much tinier crowd. He said something like, I think it was like the last 2 years or whatever. He's like, yeah, this is our 500th show of like this run that we're doing or whatever. Or some number of years he'd been touring. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's cracking little jokes and joking about like, oh, imagine it's the 90s and you have a tape deck in with a auxiliary cord that's plugged into your iPod and your player, and he's like doing this kind of retro throwback of like, I know you guys listened to me in high school and middle school, so let's pretend we're in middle school here for a minute. And he's telling these jokes and you're like, man, this guy's really funny. He's like super sharp. And then I remember, oh yeah, this is his 500th time telling that fucking joke in between that song from the set list. And I'm like, man, I really think it's far less magical than people think it is.
Yeah.
You know, because it's become so rehearsed and so scripted, you can't experience the magic that the audience has experienced. And I didn't understand that until I started experiencing the magic of, you know, like DJs. I'm like, okay, I watched this amazing Grizz set. He's my favorite DJ. I saw him play Red Rocks at one point, this like night of Grizz. He did 6 hours where he played like all of his albums, like from the first album to like what was happening now. And it's all like diehard Grizz fans. We're having an amazing time. Then we leave Red Rocks and there's an after party and Grizz is playing the after party. And I'm like, okay, now it's 5 a.m. and I've been watching Grizz for 10 hours straight. And I'm like, oh, and then I check his tour dates. Like he's in another city the next night and he's doing that same fucking thing. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me enough. I'm just like, I'm over it. I don't know. I don't want to do that thing. But, and I'm not to like steal the magic from people, but if you haven't experienced that thing, you don't know what it's like. Rogan talked about that recently with Chris Williamson on the last interview when Chris was on there, where he's like, yeah, you almost don't know it's happening. You're kind of like in flow state and you don't really remember it. And then you get off stage and people are like, yeah, that set was great. And you're like, yeah, cool. I'm like, did I tell the joke about yeah, you told that joke. It was great. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think, yeah. It's like you're on autopilot. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's magical in its own way, but I think it's a job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've had shows where my head was in an entirely different place the entire time.
Yep.
Or most of it. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, well, Justin, great conversation, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. This is good to have you on here, especially since I met you engineering for your, like, working for you.
Dude,
So-
you've heard so much of my content.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, like when I worked at On It, I would shoot the UFC people and then look at their highlights afterwards.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. So I saw your content afterwards, like, oh, this is awesome. Or like I saw it when you were doing it.
Yeah.
And then I saw the channel. So yeah, it was so cool to get to talk to you and kind of like talk through some of that content.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much for having me. It's been
Yeah,
a
man.
pleasure.
Thank you.